Then let's start it.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Into the 99 podcast, where we've got 99 cards, because Commander is number one. I am your hostess with the mostest, Zach, joined by my lovely crew of co-hosts, Lotus.
Hello.
And I guess Brian and Dan, too. They're lovely.
How's it going, guys?
I sure am. I'm a peach.
Yes, you're definitely a P with the each and the...
You're something, Brian.
Noticeably missing from the crew today are Vincent and Ryan. I'm not really sure where they are. Not sure if they're in some kind of nexus or some kind of triangle. There's not been a lot of communication, so as always,
They could just be on vacation.
They're off scouting for Exia.
It could be. As always, God luck, good speed, gentlemen. Just keep it loose, keep it light. Today, we are here to talk about something I am super excited to talk about, and that is Esix Fractal Bloom. When the Quandrix Commander deck was spoiled, I was not into it at all. The twins were just to me, felt kind of over pushed, and it was just like, meh, cool, Simic good stuff. Then they delved into it further, and I got to see Esix, and I said, Dan, I'm building this deck right now, and I want to do an episode on it. And Dan was like, yeah, let's do that. So you guys get to enjoy me talking about one of my favorite things to do in Magic, and that's clone literally everything.
Yeah, I spam sent this to Zach the minute. I was like, Zach, go check it out. Go look at it. It clones things.
Yes, I believe
It
we
does
had
one
many...
of the three things.
One of the three. Check that.
Ooh.
So what does
Fox.
Esix do? Let's start there.
Sure. So Esix Fractal Bloom is 4 a green and a blue for a legendary creature Fractal, which new creature type with Strixhaven. I love the Fractals. Everything about them is cool. I hope that we continue to see them, and hopefully they replace illusions. But it's a 4/4 flyer, and the first time you would create one or more tokens during each of your turns, you may instead choose a creature other than Esix Fractal Bloom and create that many tokens that are copies of that creature. So it's
there's a lot on that. I was blown away that it's not creature you control, any creature.
Exactly. That's the big thing.
Silly.
Being able to copy your own stuff is always good, but what I like about Simic, or in this case Quandrix, is being able to kind of sit down and have a deck that can scale to the table very well, because you're not only creating copies of your cool stuff, but literally anyone else's cool stuff. So you can build this kind of in a lot of different ways, but ultimately I feel like if you're going to take advantage of Essex's ability, you're going to be wanting to copy literally anything on the battlefield, and that's going to make for a lot of fun games and not too overpowering or oppressive in a lot of situations. Unless that's the table you're setting down at, then you're going to be playing exactly what they're playing.
I like that.
Yeah, that's why I really like clones and clone effects. It's just a lot of fun. I get to play with what you're playing, and hopefully I can do it better than what you're doing.
It's hard to get upset when someone's just cloning what you're playing.
Yeah, no, I got upset once. Your brother.
Yeah. Fair.
It was not a good time.
So, as I do for all my deck techs, I have my subcategories all broken down into the basic themes of the deck and kind of what we're going to be dealing with. The largest chunk, as I'm sure you guys could imagine, since we're not playing a Reanimator deck, is going to be token creation. And in this, we're not just necessarily creating tokens, we're also creating copy of tokens. So there are a bunch of different things we're going to do, but starting off, I already talked about them, but they have to kind of be in the deck. I feel like they're very strong, which is kind of why I was bummed. But it's Edrix and Nev Twin Casters. It's the pairing of the face commanders here, and they're 2 a green and a blue for a legendary creature Merfolk Wizards. They're 2/2 with Ward 2. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. we want to be creating tokens, right? We want to be copying things. We want to be making a bunch of one creature at any given time. And these two are going to allow us to do that. And it has built-in protection.
Yeah,
I
that
really-
ward ability is strong.
Yep.
I've got to play against, well, we were playing against Lotus a couple of times, and I just kept looking at my hand, and I was just like, man, Doomblade costs 4. Like, swords cost 3. Like, they just...
It's a real big feel bad.
Yeah, Ward. I really like Ward. I really hope to see it continue on in other sets. With
Well, it's
Strixhaven, we got a lot
evergreen
of.
now.
Oh, is it? I didn't know it was evergreen.
It's now an
That's
evergreen
awesome.
keyword.
Well, good. That means we will get to see it. I really like that. Especially, we had a bunch of different flavors of Ward, like the mono black creature that has like Ward pay 3 life.
Yeah.
So I hope we continue to see that kind of stuff. But yeah, these guys are good. Of course, I feel like I would be remiss to not have this card in an Esix deck, and that's Avenger Zendikar.
I think Avenger might be the best card in Esix, to be honest. Like, I haven't seen the deck, but I just think that it just might be one of the strongest cards you can get in it.
Because of how many tokens you can create in just a single sitting?
Well, let's say you have 10 lands. You Avenger of Zendikar with your 10 lands. You have your lands enter as Avenger of Zendikar, so you get 100 plant tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I will say that Avenger is strong, but there are a lot, like, I don't know if this is necessarily the best card in Esix, but it's very strong.
I'm definitely excited to see if there's something better.
So Avenger is huge in our format, but I'll just read it for anyone who might not be as familiar. 5 green for an elemental 5/5. When Avenger Zendikar ETBs, you put a 0/1 green plant creature token on the battlefield for each land you control, and it has landfall. Whenever a land ETBs under your control, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant creature you control. The goal here is to play Esix, not make any other tokens before you play Avenger, because that's the big thing. Esix only cares about the first token you create each turn. So you have to be very mindful of how you stack your things when you're playing. Yeah, sorry, the first time. Typically, if you're playing something that's going to make a token, you just have to watch your timing. This is very, very timing restriction. Another card that I was super pumped to play in this deck, and I've been getting to play a little bit more of, is Bio-Waste Blob. 2 green for an ooze. It's a 0/0. Oozes you control get +1/+1, so this gives itself +1/+1. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control your commander, create a token that's a copy of Bio-Waste Blob.
I've been loving the oozes so much. I made an elf deck with him. Brian saw it a little bit last week when we were playing. I love all of the ooze cards, and I can never find them. They're just always gone out of stock everywhere.
I need to finish that deck.
Yeah, it's a tribe that I think Commander players have always really loved, but there hasn't been a lot of support until recently, and now, like, Bio-Waste Blob is insane. It just so good.
I love that this is a new lord that they came out with. They finally gave us an ooze lord, and that's like my hope is that we'll start to see other creature types. Like maybe they'll release a lord here and there for them, like the ones that we haven't.
Fractal Lord.
Like, yeah. Or we haven't, like, worms. Like, give me a worm lord.
It's really cool, too. Kind of off subject, but Gavin Verhey on his Twitter just recently was asking, what do you like more, Kithkins or Eldrazi? So I think there are a lot of things on people's radars, like...
Shockingly, there's like a 100% Eldrazi answer.
I picked Kithkin, because I'd love to see more Kithkins that isn't Gaddock Teague. The only Eldrazi I want to see are devoid Eldrazi.
Go back to Lorwyn.
I kind of want to grab this next card because I actually just recently picked one up and I'm kind of excited and I'm not sure which deck to throw it in yet. But we got Bramble Sovereign here, which is 2 and 2 green. It's a creature dryad. And whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a green. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. I feel there could be some mad shenanigans with this.
Well, what's awesome too is it's from Battle Bond, right? So this is one of the Battle Bond mythics. The Battle Bond mythics just didn't get enough love. They're all great. Pause the video, go look at the mythics from Battle Bond, and tell me I'm wrong. But what's really cool is because we play Commander, it's a political format, like you want to be running politics so much. And this is whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may pay 2. If you do, that creature's controller. So that's the big thing. If someone's behind on lands and they play a Wood Elves to try to get caught up because they didn't have a good starting hand, you can say, hey, I've got this extra mana, you leave me alone, or you help me deal with this problem, I'll help you ramp, or anything like that. Someone's, we need to wipe the board, but this isn't big enough, we can make a second Massacre Worm, something crazy like that, right? It's not just your stuff, which is really, really appealing.
Very true. I love Bramble Sovereign. I really love all the Battle Bond cards, to be honest.
Yeah.
The next one we have is Crackling Counterpart, 1 double blue. Instant, create a token that's a copy of a creature you control, and it has flashback for 5 in double blue. Definitely has a home in a deck like this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Instant speed, creating tokens is very good. Granted, Esix only cares about on your turns, so you can do this during your turn, or just being able to make a second blocker or something like that is important.
What do you mean by that, Zach?
So if you want to take turn. No, the first time you would create 1 or more tokens during each of your turns.
Oh, each of your turns. Okay.
Yeah. If it was every turn, that'd be insane.
I thought it was every turn.
No.
Well, that's less
sadly
fun.
not.
Some of the games I've played with this deck and I've been played against, if it was every turn,
well, that makes Verdant Force much less exciting, but
it's still good though. Then we move into another new card that was actually in the deck. It's Esix Fractal Theorist. It's 4 and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature human wizard. It has Magecraft, so whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you create, or you can sorcery spell god. You create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is that spell's mana value. Then you can pay 3 and a blue. Target creature token can't be blocked this turn. This was another card that I saw Lotus, like, she had to explain the fractal thing to me because I didn't understand, because I was making copies, but I didn't realize whatever copy you make still comes in with those +1/+1 counters.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. Being able to, like, we're making a bunch of creature tokens that are just mean, right? Most of the time. At the very least, you're making something that people probably don't want to get hit with. So being able to also make that creature unblockable, very good.
Well, when we were playing, Lotus had like a 94/94 or some shenanigans like that.
I think it got to over 100.
Yes.
Yeah. And then if she had this guy out or this lady out, be able to make it unblockable, not having that.
I didn't quite get that far. The next one in your list, the next one is It's All Me. Deep Forest Hermit, 3 green for a creature elf druid. 1/1 with Vanishing 3. So it enters with into the battlefield with 3 vanishing counters, and at the beginning of your upkeep you remove a vanishing counter. When the last one's removed, sacrifice it. When it enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green squirrels. What more do you need? Sorry, the last bit. Squirrels get +1/+1.
Yes, that's what you need.
This card, I love this card so much.
It's so cool. I've actually done a ton of damage because I've been able to make multiple copies of Deep Forest Hermit at a go. Like a game that I played with my buddy, I was actually able to make 3. So I had 3 come in. I had a ton of squirrels, and they all got +3/+3. It was, it was very good.
I hope they do. Again, this is a Lord for squirrels, but I really hope squirrels get more love. And I know Marrow says that squirrels are coming to Black Border more often now.
Good. They're a very fun tribe. Toski, I think, really, your Toski build really made me re-look at squirrels because they're just fun. But yeah, I've wanted a home for Deep Forest Hermit for a while, and this seems to be the perfect place. All right, Brian, this next card's all you.
Yeah, so we got the next one. Obviously, has to be in this deck. We got Doubling Season. Doubling Season's 4 and a green. It's an enchantment, and if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. If an effect would put 1 or more creatures counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many of those counters on that permanent instead. It just doubles up everything.
So I wanna shout out a good friend of ours that we've been working with the podcast, and he's actually doing our prizes for the Precon League, and that's Pyrexia. I'm a very big cheapskate, so when he got a hold of me and said that he'd make me proxies, this is the this is the doubling seasons that he made me. It's super cute and very 8-bit, which I was very happy about. So thanks again, Jim. Yeah, it belongs in this deck. I just didn't have one, and now I do. So it's in here because where else would I put it? Next card on my list is another card that came out of the Commander deck, and I love it. I love Fractal so much. It's Fractal Harness. It's X2 and a green. It's an artifact equipment. When Fractal Harness ETBs, you create a 0/0 green and blue Fractal creature token. You put X +1/+1 counters on it and attach Fractal Harness to it. Whenever a crypt creature attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. And it equips for 2. This equipment is very, very powerful. You don't have to pay into X either. That's the big thing. Like, you can just have if it's the first token you create a turn, you have Esix on the battlefield, you could just have it come in as a copy of something else and not have to worry about the counters. But if you decide you want to make something big, like someone's playing Infect, you can just copy their Infect creature and make it larger and then swing out.
Gross.
I don't like your plans for that.
No.
I mean, I don't have Infect in this deck, but I'm just pointing it out there. Sometimes other people play Infect and you can out-infect them.
Well,
That's
you'll
what
need
this
to
deck
prove
does.
that to me, because we haven't gone through the full list yet.
Whatever. Yeah, I love it. You guys should look at it for a lot of different decks. Lotus, I want you to take this next card, because this feels like a U card.
Okay, Geometric Nexus, 2 generic artifact. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, put a number of charge counters on Geometric Nexus equal to that spell's mana value, converted mana cost. 6 and tap. Remove all charge counters from Geometric Nexus, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of charge counters removed this way. Nice. So you play against any sort of spell slinger deck, you're just going to pump out loads of huge creatures.
Yeah, and it's like a ton of value. I love cards that kind of amass value by just sitting there while people play the game. Like Geometric Nexus can get very, very silly very quickly, especially if we're just storing up, if we're first in the turn order, for example, right? And we play this on turn 2, and the whole thing goes around a cycle. Maybe you end up having 6 counters on this, and it just keeps
everybody be ramping.
Yeah, exactly. It just keeps amassing value. It reminds me a lot of like Mana Gorger Hydra, right? You play it, and then it comes back around, and suddenly you have like an 8/8 Trampler on turn 4, or something else. And with Esix, once again, if it's the first token we create that turn, it's not just going to come in as a fractal. It's going to come in as something that might be super, super scary to deal with a dumb number of +1/+1 counters on it.
I think I've actually done that, but I chose a Colossal Dreadmaw.
You did. You 100% did. You told us about it, and I thought it was great. Next card was also in the Commander deck, and I was super happy to see it. It's Hornet Queen. It's 4 green for a 2/2 insect with flying and death touch. When it ETBs, you create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch. The amount of value that you can get out of this is stupid, because once again, if it's the first thing you play that creates tokens, that means you're going to have 4 additional Hornet Queens coming in, all spawning their own brood. And flying death touchers are a problem, and that's a huge army of them.
Mm.
Yeah, that's terrifying, actually.
It's just fun. It's great. Nothing about this makes me sad.
Good times all around.
And if you have like doubly season or anything out, you're just coming in with eight of them each.
So I don't typically like playing with planeswalkers, but there are 2 in this deck. I want one of you guys to read these next 2. These I wanted a home for, and I'm so glad I found it.
All right, I'll go with Jace. Jace Cunning Castaway is 1 double blue for 3 loyalty starting planeswalker. +1 whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to player. This turn, draw a card, then discard a card. So a pretty alright looting effect. -2, create a 2/2 blue illusion token with when it becomes the target of spell or ability, sack it. And then -5, create 2 copies that are tokens of Jace, except they're not legendary.
It's sweet.
It's a fun one.
I don't like Jace, but I like this Jace quite a bit. It's everything we kind of want to be doing, right? We get to draw. Well, we get to loot, which I've said a billion times. I'd rather loot than scry any day. Creating the token, once again, it can. If it's the first time we do it, it's going to be something not.
Does it keep the illusion? The illusion class? No, it just becomes a copy of its creature, right? Yeah. Okay, never mind. So yeah, because I was like,
honestly,
you don't
the
want
ability
to be
to
targeted.
get the extra ones is pretty dope.
Right, we're playing doubling season already. So being able to, like this, I believe goes infinite with doubling season, but I don't necessarily know what you do with it. Like I wouldn't do that. It would more be being able to play Jace, and if I have doubling season out,
come in with 6, you could alt him, then you could alt the new ones, then you could alt the new ones, then you could alt the new ones. You can make infinite blue illusions.
I'd rather just make copies of my creatures or someone else's creatures, which is ultimately what I want to do. The goal would
combo
be
decks with Zach.
Yeah, right.
I'd rather
the next card. Sorry, I'm jumping to the next one because I've wanted to talk about it. You guys keep going on this one. Jace is great. The next one is Kasmina, and I love the artwork of it, and I've been waiting to say I love the artwork of it. That owl is dope. Chill on Jace. Let's look at Kasmina. Kasmina Enigma Sage is 1, and then the Simic colors for 2 loyalty starting 1. Each other planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Kasmina. +2, scry 1, -X, create a 0/0 green blue fractal token with X/1/1 counters on it, which, as we all know, Zach loves. And then it's -8, search your library for an instant or sorcery card that shares a color with this planeswalker. Exile that card, then shuffle. You can cast without paying its mana cost.
There is one thing about this card that I don't think many have realized. Do you remember the War of the Spark Planeswalkers that only down-ticked?
Yeah, I was just looking at that they can go back up with this.
Now they have ability. A +2.
I thought about putting the mono blue Kasmina from War of the Spark in here because she's able to make tokens, and she has that static ability that's like a mana leak on her, which is awesome. But I found cutting cards very hard for this deck, but this Kasmina I felt like I just couldn't ignore. Like I have this exact one in foil, so like I had to play it in a deck. But also just like this card's nuts. Like it's just very, very good.
Well, it gets you that fractal, right? So it fits the deck perfectly.
Kasmina's pretty killer. Like I think it's you went very differently than I built in this deck, which is really fun to see. Like I did not go this fractal route at all. I'm the opposite of you. I didn't really like it, but I'm starting to see like the value of it the way that you're playing it. I think it's pretty cool.
It's all my goal is to constantly make copies of creatures that, my fractals are just going to be actual copies of creatures. That's how I always want to play this deck. A good way to do that is this next card, Mystic Reflection. It's 1 blue for an instant. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers ETB this turn, they enter as a copy of the chosen creature, and you can foretell for 1 blue. I know that there are a bunch of stupid interactions you can do with this card, especially in this deck, but it is phenomenal. It can be used offensively, it can be used defensively. It's just great. There's no reason not to run it.
I like to host commanders with it. I'm a bad person.
Sometimes when people are trying to set up certain loops, like you can just easily be like, oh, that's cool. Your Revel Arc is going to actually come back as this Llanowar elf.
I'm interested to see the next card in here, Zach.
Oh, you knew I was playing this card.
Yeah, no, I know. I didn't know that you were playing this card, but it makes sense now.
Go ahead.
So we got Orvar, the All form, which is 3 and a blue. It's a legendary creature shapeshifter. Changeling, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets 1 or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. When a spell or an ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent.
So with Orvar being in the 99, that last paragraph is actually relevant. But yeah, I play a bunch of different targeting effects to create my, token. So being able to have Orvar out is just more value, right?
Yeah, more token generation.
Yeah, and it's Orvar. I love this card, so if I can play it in a deck, I'm going to play it in a deck.
The next
Lotus
one is
yes.
I caused problems with this. So this is Paradox Zone, 4 and a green, and I think I got it out turn 3, turn 4, and it's an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield with a growth counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, double the number of growth counters on Paradox Zone. Then create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is a number of growth counters on Paradox Zone. Like I said, got it out, I think, turn 3, turn 4, and was creating 124 fractals.
Yeah. We tried digging for an answer all game, and we just could not get it. So playing it with Lotus, we definitely saw the ceiling on this card is very, very high. But once again, with Esix, being able to make 124 creature that should have no business being that power and toughness is very, very good.
The next we have is Parallel Lives, which obviously slots into any token deck if you have the budget for it, because it has just skyrocketed from these pre-con decks. Yeah, the foils are nuts. It's 3 and a green for an enchantment. If an effect would put 1 or more tokens onto the battlefield under your control, it puts twice that many instead.
I love effects that say twice.
They do. They really should stop printing them, but they don't.
My favorite is Reds getting triples. Once again, shout out to my buddy Jim Pyrexia. Please go follow him if you haven't. Like they said, the price for these cards are outrageous, and he was nice enough to send me some proxies. So there's my Parallel Lives with the cute little mushroom people.
That's pretty cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jim does good work.
Jim is the man.
I really like the next one, too. I'm going to jump on that one. It's Progenitor Mimic. It's 4 and Simic. It enters as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has at the beginning of your upkeep. If this creature isn't a token, create a copy. I love it.
It's God, dude. This card, I love this deck and I love playing it, but I have a lot of headaches and there are a lot of triggers to keep track of because there are so many silly things like this going on. It's like, well, what is my Progenitor Mimic again? Oh, okay, I'm making multiple copies of this. It gets to be really, really fun. This card is it's a blast to play. The 6 CMC really doesn't matter in this deck either.
Not if you got all the green ramp in it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get there.
I'm sad you're going straight to Q, and you've missed one of the cards that I feel are going to be in here.
What's that?
I always love Polyraptor. It doesn't matter what you do with Polyraptor, you're going to get Polyraptors.
Polyraptor is cool, and I know you're a really big proponent because of the deck that you were playing for a while. It was just one of those things that it's a random mythic that my LGS just didn't have. It's one of those cards that people just kind of pick up, and it's mainly I think commander players and maybe fringe modern play. You know what I mean? So instead of Polyraptor, we're going to quasi duplicate. It's 1 blue for sorcery. Create tokens to copy a target creature you control, and then it has jumpstart, so you can cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. Then you have to exile it. It's good. It's a 2-time use. We can discard something that we don't need, and if Orvar's out, we get extra value. And Orvar doesn't make this deck. It's just the value that we can continue to generate off of it is a lot of fun.
Next, we have Rampaging Balos, 4 double green for a 6/6 beast with trample. Whenever land enters, you get a 4/4 green beast token. Always solid in any token generation deck because you're pretty much always going to get value out of it. I love cards like that.
Yeah, it's super nice because worst case you get a 4/4 beast. Best case you just get whatever you want.
Going through the deck, I'm definitely unhappy that it's during your turn. I miss Red Esix. Sorry, my reading comprehension is not great. It would be much better if it was the first time each turn. And I'm probably going to scratch out the word own and just play it that way.
I
feel like it'd be too much. I really do. This would be probably, as you would say, Dan, cancer.
Yeah, it would be super fun cancer, though.
I don't know if that's a thing.
I'm with Brian.
It's like a happy cancer.
I don't think that's a thing. But
right.
You haven't played a Nerd deck.
Yeah, so we have this card is one of the cards that I thought was just a useless card, but seeing it and knowing it and what it's doing in this deck, it makes sense. So we got Reform, which is 3 and a blue, It's a creature worm, 0/1. When Reef Worm dies, create a 3/3 blue fish creature token. With when this creature dies, create a 6/6 blue whale creature token. With when this creature dies, create a 9/9 blue kraken creature token. It just evolves. This is Zach's Digimon right here.
Yes, yes, it is. I talk about this Brutaclad deck that I used to have quite a bit, and Reefworm was in it, and a lot of my playgroup didn't understand how powerful Reefworm was, and boy, Reefworm is a problem.
Oh god, yeah.
I love it. It's one of the only artist proofs that I have too. I got to meet Dan Scott at SCGCon, and super nice guy. It was great. I got him to sign all the tokens too.
That's pretty sweet.
I
Right of
like
replication as well. I love this card. I have to, yeah. It is 2 double blue and it has a kicker of 5, so you can cast it for 9 if you want. Create a token that's a copy of target creature. If the spell is kicked, create 5 of them instead.
Brian knows
Very
the pain
strong.
of this card.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun. I love it. It makes me so happy.
The next card I'm seeing so often right now. I'll let Zach take this one away because he knows how silly it is, but it's good.
This is, I think, the absolute essence of Commander on a card. It's Scoot Swarm. It's 2 and a green for a 1/1 insect. It has landfall. Whenever a land ETBs under your control, you create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead. It's
Anything that breaks
words.
arena can be good in Commander.
like I said, this card, like, it just, I think, embodies the spirit of Commander so well, because it leads to a bunch of like weird ruling questions. It leads to a bunch of like absurd board states. Like, it does everything I want to sit down at a table and do, because even if I end up having an insane amount of them, it's just I could sit there, and I know Brian would, and like even Lotus and Dan would just be like, what? You have how many of what? It's a lot of fun.
I love that stuff. I love Scoot Swarm. There's never too
Dan,
many
you
tokens.
love everything that makes tokens.
Yeah, there's never too many tokens on the table.
There's not.
I think there is when you get Rakdos Charmed.
I did get Rakdos Charmed yesterday. Not a fan. Not a fan of Rakdos Charm. Love tokens.
I think this next card generates like your energy. I'd like you to read it, please.
So, Stolen by the Fae, X blue. I actually used to run this when Brawl was a thing, so yeah, it is my energy. It's a sorcery. Return target creature with converted mana cost X to its owner's hand. You create X 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens with flying. It's beautiful.
Yeah. This is another card that can be used offensively or defensively, right? So you can use it to bounce one of your own creatures back to then make multiple copies of, and then rebuy something that you want an ETB off of. Or you can deal with a problematic creature that you know is going to be swinging next turn that might take you or someone else out of the game. So Stolen by the Fae is a lot of fun in this deck. It does a lot of like double duty, I guess.
Yeah.
This card has an owl on it, so I feel like that's a Dan thing.
I love all of those things. The theoretical.
Looks like Dan has an owl.
I wish.
Just
Theoretical
barrel-chested.
duplication. It's a thick owl, a juicy one. It's a instant 2 and a blue. I was going to say green. My brain wanted to say green. 2 and a blue. Instant. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control this turn, create a token that's a copy of that creature. I like that.
It's good. It's good. And it's at instant speed. That's exactly what Dan wants to see.
Well, and it's pretty... You can do it in response to something good, or just as a threat to, like, someone has 50 untapped mana for some reason. They can generate 50 green mana. They have all their elves because somebody Cyclonic Rifted. You have a pretty good threat card in hand now of, if you play elves, I'm playing elves.
So, I guess, like, for this... If you went to play Hull Breacher and I played this, who would get the treasures?
Both of us.
Okay. Good to know.
Ew, go away.
Who wins, not the table.
Yeah, if someone wants to read this card, they can.
So we got Vizier of Many Faces. It's 2 and 2 blue. Shapeshifter Cleric. You may have Vizier of Many Faces enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except if Vizier of Many Faces was embalmed. The token has no mana cost. It's a white and It's white, and it's a zombie in addition to its other types. And the embalm cost is 5, 3 and 2 blue.
I love clones, and I love Vizier quite a bit because it does a lot of different things. Being able to rebuy it from the graveyard and it coming in as a token is super, super like relevant for this deck. But just in general, this was a card when I got back into playing Magic, I bought every copy of Vizier that I saw because it just slotted into so many of my strategies. So that is the overall like arcing token creation. There are still a couple others that you're going to see throughout, but these were the ones that like didn't really have other places. It felt like this is their own category. So we're going to move into utility, and the first card I'm going to talk about is actually one of the ways that you can win, and it's how I would like to win with this deck every single time. And it's Biovisionary.
Honest, you should be able to win pretty easy with this card in this deck.
Yep.
Yeah. It's Biovisionary. Is 1 a green and a blue for a human wizard. It's a 2/3. That doesn't look like a human wizard. That should have been Vidalkin, but whatever. At the beginning of the end step, if you control 4 or more creatures named Biovisionary, you win the game.
Yeah, it should be super simple. I remember when these guys came out, and it was super funny watching people try to get these in Modern.
To be honest, I think you're actually going to salt people pretty aggressively with this card because it's so easy to make so many tokens on your turn. And it's an end step trigger, not a beginning trigger.
I could also see it like in Matt's Zuri deck with something of where if you have so many counters on them, you win the game or something like that.
Yeah, Simic Ascendancy, something like that. But that's also an upkeep trigger. And an end step win, like that Angel of Destiny, I believe it was. The end step, any end step trigger is dangerous, right? Because people have to have an answer immediately, or like many things. The Hornet Queen, for instance, is going to make 4 of these Biovisionaries the moment it comes into play. And if you move to end step, you win if there's not enough removal to get rid of at least 2 of them.
Right. Yeah. And it kind of comes back to your table. I feel like this card...
I put it in my deck. Don't worry. I'm the same. Yeah. I'm a monster too. I get it.
I like this card. I think it's fun. It's a way that I would like to win. I don't always want to kill someone with combat damage, and if I'm not reanimating, I might as well win with clones.
Hey, it's more fun than the Thassa's Oracle win. That's gotten old.
Yeah, if I could have put mechanized production in here and it made sense, I probably would have done that too. But it's not there. There wasn't as many artifacts I wanted to copy.
Yeah, you've got Court of Calling in here too, which with so much token generation, that Convoke is going to be nothing. It's X and 3 green. Instant speed, search your library for a creature card with CMC X or less, put on the battlefield and shuffle. No downside to something like this in a deck like this.
And it's nice too, because like most of the time if you're playing Court of Calling, you're expecting people to go get like Crater Hoof or something. I don't have that in this deck. It's more just like the utility that I need right then and there. It's like I really need this clone to kind of get caught back up into the game or something like that. It's just, I don't play with a lot of tutors, but when they make sense or they feel like they are useful to the deck, I like to put them in.
It's fair. Glaring Spotlight's one you don't see very often either. I want to know why you chose that one, Zach.
Okay, so Glaring Spotlight's 1 for an artifact. Creatures your opponents control with hexproof can be targets of spells or abilities you control as though they didn't have hexproof. And then you can pay 3 and sacrifice Glaring Spotlight. Creatures you control gain hexproof until the end of turn and are unblockable this turn.
That's the unblockable, yeah.
I think I can also understand why you have it in this deck.
Being able to copy people's stuff is important. Most of the time, they're going to come in as targets of things, so I use this card to be able to get around hexproof. Mainly, it's there to put a spotlight on people's creatures so I can copy them.
Especially if you copy the creature with hexproof, then they can't target your creature, but you can still target theirs.
And the ability to close out games is actually really relevant too. So if someone's going to target my creatures, like a card like Echoing, I think it's Echoing Truth or something like that, where it returns all creatures of the same name, would absolutely destroy my board state. So being able to give that one creature hexproof is very relevant. And the unblockable too. Like if I've suddenly made 1,000 1/1s, but I don't have a way to give my creatures trample, how am I supposed to win?
Yeah, that's fair. I'm glad you've used Lazartov Plating. It's a card I really love, and I'm always laughed at for using it, and I think this card's underplayed. It's 1 and a blue for an instant. You amass 1, so you make an army, and it becomes a 0/0, and you put 1 counter on it. and you and permanents you control gain hexproof to end a turn. Granted, I know Heroic Intervention gives them indestructible, but this gives you hexproof as well.
That's kind of the big thing. Like, we're getting a token, which is relevant, but also you having hexproof. I play a lot of decks where it's like I'm going to do a bunch of damage to a person. So being able to, like, no, you're not going to Brash Taunt me is very relevant.
Zach shutting down his own win strategy in other decks?
Yes.
I say no.
It's like if someone aura shards you, Brian. Like, you know,
I'm waiting for the day.
You have to have those outs.
So this Dex card, I love it. It's, again, when I started playing Magic, so it has like a fond spot in my heart, and it's Master Biomancer. I love Evolve, and that's when he kind of came out around, and it's 2 in Simic, or 2 in Quandrix. And
we can say Quandrix.
It's an elf wizard, and for each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 with a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Master Biomancer's power, and as a mutant in addition to its other types. So if you keep putting +1/+1 counters on Master Biomancer, anything that comes in is just going to be big. It's fantastic, and I love it.
Yeah, you could potentially cut this card, but I love my Master Biomancer. Like, I love that it adds to the creature type, and just creatures coming in getting bigger is always good. It's easy to make Master Biomancer larger in this deck, so, you know, being able to, like, Fractal Harness, make another Master Biomancer that is larger.
Yep,
it's relevant. Like I said, I typically don't play with a lot of tutors, but I've actually acquired a couple, and I wanted to try them out in this deck to see how I could get the deck to generate and do kind of silly things. So I'm playing a Mystical Tutor. It's 1 blue for an instant. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal that card, shuffle your library, and put that card on top of it. I'm not doing this to tutor for, like, wins. It's more just to be able, like, oh, I want to see what silly things I can do with this deck.
Well, yeah, and if you don't have anything that's going to make any tokens, right, you can at least search it up and be able to make some tokens that turn.
Yes, this is very true.
Because maybe you need that clutch blocker, right?
Yes.
And if you don't have the money, because I think that this card's hitting, what, $30 now?
30, yeah.
There is a card in Strixhaven, which is 2 in a blue, that does the same thing.
That's not horrible.
I think it's Solve the Equation. 2 in a blue, sorcery, search library for an instant sorcery card and put it in your hand and shuffle.
I kind of like that better, honestly.
Yeah. Overwhelming Stampede, a really good game-ending card.
Yeah, Zach was mentioning having those 100 tokens and no trample. I wonder where he's getting his trample from.
Well, or if he has one of those enormous fractal tokens he was talking about early. Until in a turn, creatures you control get XX, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. That can really, really slap hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not playing Critterhoof Behemoth, but still games need to end, so having something like Overwhelming Stampede I feel like is perfectly fine. It's kind of like what I want to do, right? It's very flashy, and it's at sorcery speed, so it's not like just a gotcha moment. Like, people have the ability to interact with this.
And next up, we got the famous card. Yeah, Zakashima.
We'll go on.
You might as well take the honors. Yeah, you might as well take the honors, Zach.
Okay, so as its lovely dub, Zakashima of 1,000 Faces is 3 in a blue for a 3/1 legendary creature human rogue. You may have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. ETB as a copy of another creature you control, except it has Sakashima 1,000 Faces' others abilities. The legend rule doesn't apply to you or permanent you control. I'm sorry, the legendary rule doesn't apply to permanent you control and it has partner. I want to make a lot of legendary creatures. Here we go.
Yeah, you don't want to be limited,
that is solid in a deck like this, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that it removes the legendary rule for you, so you can make their commander or make multiples of someone's commanders and just be able to go. Like, I would love it. Like, do you know what? I probably wouldn't be salted if you made like 4 Savalas. Like, I think that would be absolutely hilarious.
I have a friend who plays Aloro, so being able to make multiple copies of Aloro so they know how bad it feels to play against it seems
That's
very
funny.
I make 8 life per upkeep.
Yeah, you guys know I love Sakashima. It's every blue deck I've built since it came out. It's been in, and it will continue to be that way as long as I can keep picking them up. I will do so.
Next, we have Summoner's Pact. Yeah,
Yep.
the 0 mana instant. Search your library for a green creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Begin your next upkeep, pay 4. If you don't, you lose the game.
Like,
Makes
I don't
sense.
typically run a lot of tutors, but because of Time Spiral Remastered, a lot of these, and like Double Masters, I just had these extra cards laying around, so just kind of was like, I'm going to play them.
It was nice to see a lot of those cards. Like, seeing Summoner's Pack down around like a $5 card is great.
Mm-hmm. I literally just haven't had these or had access to these to where I felt like it was fine to buy. So,
A lot of them, just weren't budget friendly. The same with the Reflections. It's been very nice to see the Reflections come down in price.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Wound Reflection, Mana Reflection, that kind of stuff, because they've always been really... Those were some pretty good reprint sets, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think they'd only been printed once before this, so
yeah,
it was a big deal. Last card for my utility section is Rapid Vigor. It's 1 and a green for an instant. Regenerate each creature you control. Regenerate's important in this deck, so we can just keep everything on the battlefield and not lose our +1/+1 counters.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would
Well,
suck.
also making sure you're not losing key creatures that enable things too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've had, once again, it's another card I've had, but I just didn't know where it went, and it was here. This is where it went.
Nope, makes sense.
Removal is our next section. A lot of staples like Beast Within. There, I think, are arguments to be made where you are going to Beast Within something you own to make a copy of something.
No, I've done it before.
Yeah, it's a very, once again, you can use it offensively or defensively. Typically, this is meant to be used defensively, but it's funny. I have done some silly things with the Beast Within in this deck, and I will continue to do so.
You have some interesting removal for sure. Curse of the Swine's a pretty generic one. It's probably one of the best blue removal spells. X and double blue, exile X target creatures. For each one exiled, they get a 2/2 green boar. Like you said, you can, in this deck, use it on yourself as well, which is pretty solid.
And I have done that.
Yeah. Azuri's Predation, though, is the one that I think is probably the more fun removal type. For each creature your opponents control, create a 4/4 green beast. Each of those beasts fights a different one of those creatures. You're going to be able to make something monstrous.
Yes.
Yeah, like a lot. If you Azuri's Predation and have them enter as Avenger of Zendikars, I'll leave. I'll stop playing. I get it.
Stop playing. Yeah, that was my thought process. It's either you can have it come in as something stupid, or with Doubling Season or Parallel Lives, suddenly you have just an army of 4/4s, which is also
this card with
okay.
nothing else on the battlefield is good.
Or a beefed up Biomancer beasts.
Yeah, I'll make 700 Biomancers. Your move.
Jeez, yeah. And because not all of them will fight, because you only have to have one fight per each creature your opponent controls, the others don't fight, so you'll keep them around.
Yeah. This was a card that I wanted to play with for a while, but it was only printed in one commander set or commander deck beforehand, so it was actually really expensive. So this was a reprint. As soon as I saw, I was like, yes, I'm getting this because I want to play with this card.
I'm trying to have fun, and I have an Inferno Titan out. Zach makes 800 Inferno Titans. Interesting.
And kind of a shout out to Dan, like you've been doing the lore podcast, and Azuri is a Phyrexian, so
yeah,
good on you.
It's a cool card too. Like, it's not something you see played very often, but I think everyone right now is trying to still play Commander as efficiently as possible. We talked about last time, even Ryan moving to more like 2 mana ramp instead of 3 mana ramp, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of games I'm finding you're very easily casting things with 8 mana now. A lot of the casual side of Magic is going into longer games and more played out ones. And an 8 mana spell is not out of the question anymore.
Nope.
Next we have Crows and Grip. It was in the Commander deck, and I like it. So we have it. 2 and a green for an instant with split second. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. We don't run enough removal in our format. I'm telling you now, you're not running enough removal. Add more removal to your decks. This is more removal.
Yeah, I always run Crows and Grip. It's just such a good card. Like I think, pretty sure, like since I saw that they reprinted it with the fancy art again, I've grabbed 2 or 3 of them just because I play so much green, and there are a lot of problem cards out there that need to be destroyed.
I stopped running Crows and Grip.
You stopped?
I run Barrier Breach instead.
Barrier Breach is good,
fair.
but Split Second can't be beat. I love it. It's very fun to just cross and grip something annoying that someone's doing.
Maybe I'll run both.
It's a really good time.
That's why it's in here.
Someone tried to go infinite yesterday with that, and I just really stopped that right in its tracks with a cross and grip. Good times. The next one is a really interesting removal spell. It's Oversimplify. It's one of the new ones. It's 3, 1 green, 1 blue. Exile all creatures. Each player creates a 0/0 green and blue fractal token. Puts a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the total power of creatures they control that were exiled this way.
Oof.
So
Mass exile hurts.
I was going to say, I think it's fair to say I am the Reanimator player in our play group. And look, you're not playing out of your graveyard if I'm not playing out of my graveyard. So we're exiling those creatures. And you know, it's going to make us a copy. It's going to make us a fractal, which is important, and the +1/+1 counters because it's removing, it's exiling creatures. Once again, if we have our doubling season or something like that out, we're going to have a larger creature most of the time. It's just good. It's good removal. There's no reason.
2 of those creatures.
Oh yeah, there's that part. That goes. This card's so stupid.
The next one is definitely not removal. Pact of Negation. It's, I guess, spell removal.
It's removal.
It's not. 0 mana counter target spell.
Yeah, it's removal.
I don't think it is. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next upkeep. If you don't pay 5, 3, and 2 blue, you lose.
Yeah, this is how blue removes. Typically, is by countering spells.
That's fair. The Perplexing Test is also another really cool one. 3 blue for an instant. Choose one, return all creatures to their hands or all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. Creature tokens or non-tokens, sorry.
That's devastating.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that can really wreck a lot of decks. Love it.
Yeah, I really, really like what they did with the supporting cards of the commander decks this year around. They always surprise me, but this year I felt like it was they did a very good job of like pushing more of what they were wanting to do with the decks. So this card is just amazing removal.
A solid instant, yeah. If its CMC was a little lower, if its mana value, no, if its CMC was a little lower, I'd be happy, but it's pretty good. Rapid Hybridization is also a solid one. 1 mana, destroy target creature, 1 blue. Can't be regen. That creature's controller gets a 3/3 green frog lizard. Again, like you said, you can blow your own thing up if you want to emergency make a token, or you can hit my Xeris and make me sad.
Yeah. Sublime Epiphany is a great card. 4 blue instant, and you can choose 1 or more. So you can counter target spell, counter target activated or triggered ability, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, or target player draws a card.
It does so much.
That's like a cryptic command that just got jacked.
Yes. it's very good.
And its
the art
is wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was at. I was like, I had one and I didn't have a deck for it, and then the art's super, super cool. So this is its home. I
don't like this next card.
You love this next card.
One bit.
Go ahead, read it. Tell everyone the card you love.
Trigon Predator. It's 1 in Simic or Quandrix. It's a beast with flying, and whenever Trigon Predator deals combat damage to a player, you may destroy a target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Don't like it. 1 bit. Not at all.
It's a 2/3. Very good stats.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess the removal's fine, right? Like that's probably okay.
Yeah.
I think it's solid. Right. I think it's an interesting removal piece.
It's one of those things too, like if you're playing against an opponent that's heavy into enchantments like Brian, making copies of this guy is very, very relevant, right? Being able to deal. I will definitely pay the 10 mana to remove your sphere of safety by attacking you with this one creature.
No.
All right, so our next section is card draw. This is kind of an interesting section, I feel like, for this deck, because almost all my card draw is doing something in addition to drawing cards. So the first one is Bonds of Mortality. It's 1 green for an enchantment. When it ETBs, you draw a card. Then you can pay 1 green. Creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and are indestructible until end of turn.
I like that.
Once again, I want to copy your stuff, and you don't get to say I can't do it because you have hexproof.
Bonds of Mortality as well, a very cool lore-based card.
Mm-hmm. It's very cool. And the Indestructible is very good because I've had situations where someone's running Avacyn and they go to wipe the board.
It's Brian.
If I can't have creatures, you're not going to have creatures.
You guys are so mean,
like
targeting me with everything.
Oh, Dan, there's another owl.
Yeah,
this is a
I love owls. Owls and bears. They're my creature type. Curiosity Crafter. It's 3 and a blue for a bird wizard. Flying, you have no max hand size, which I also love. Whenever a creature token you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Love every part about the card. Artwork, beautiful. Effects, beautiful. No max hand size, beautiful. It's a flying 3/3, beautiful.
Yeah, this card is just great. There's no downside.
It's an owl, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the next one too because it's got a bear on it. I know who I am as a person. It's Golden Ratio. It's 1 green, 1 blue. Draw a card for each different power among creatures you control. And I think that's a really, really cool effect. And also, I love the artwork on it. But it is a really, really interesting effect that actually makes you balance out when and what you do with it instead of you don't want to just do like 2 cards with it.
Right. And with all the fractals, and all the copies you're making, 9 times out of 10 you're going to get way more value out of this card than the 3 mana you're paying into it.
True. Your next one is a pretty good one. Mystic Confluence, 3 and double blue. Choose 3. You can choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand and draw a card. So there is a lot of utility on that one, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. I put it in card draw because I specifically see me just paying 5 to draw 3 a lot of the time, but being able to count it's not mana leak.
My Genesis Wave, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty important. It's very important.
That sounds like a good use for it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It also protects something like Esix if there's an emergency and you don't want to pay an extreme commander tax, or someone has like a very Voltron-esque commander, like a suited right up Tuvasa or something like that. Killian is another one that people are really building right now because it's
chat.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good to get something problematic off the board, or like you said, Brian has an Avacyn out and he's board wiping.
Well, and 2, I'm not reanimating in this deck, so being able to rebuy my creatures in Blue's way is good. You know, maybe recasting an Avengers Zendikar, maybe recasting a Prime Speaker Zagana, which is 2 green, blue for a legendary creature Merfolk Wizard. It's a 1/1. When it ETBs, it comes in with X+1/+1 counters, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control, and it ETBs when it enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to its power.
Solid.
It's great. I love this card. It's so much fun.
To be honest, even if you're using it as a card draw engine and sacrificing to the legendary rule, it's still a solid card to be able to draw with. I really like it.
Yep.
Oh, I have that 124 Fractal. I will play Prime Speaker Zagana. I draw myself.
No one kills me but me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you 100% have to be careful in this deck because I don't have Jace, Water Mystery, no Lab Maniac, no Thassa's Oracles. So if you draw yourself out, that's on you, bud.
Good old fashioned magic. Return of the Wild Speaker is a card I really like, and I'm actually happy to see people playing it more often. I've seen it in a few games recently. It's 4 and a green for an instant. You choose 1, draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, which is so great. And then non-humans, you get non-human creatures get +3/+3. It's really, really solid utility. But in a lot of these like elf-based decks or beast-based decks, Return of the Wild Speaker can really do a lot of work.
Yep, that's why it's in here. I love modal cards, and obviously Green-Blue has a vast variety of modal cards, so that's what we're doing.
The Wii.
I like the next one as well, the Shamanic Revelation, 3 and 2 green. Sorcery, draw a card for each creature you control, or Ferocious. You gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. I could see you having a lot of those and just being able to get your life back if you need to.
It's a very good emergency button, right? Being able to say, we got hit really hard last turn, and maybe we do have Mystical Tutor in our hand, so we go and Mystical Tutor for Shamanic Revelation to kind of get back in the game and stabilize. At the very least, you're going to get to draw cards, but the life gain is not something to be to be ignored. It's very important.
Zimone's really good.
Yeah, it's fun. Why don't you go ahead and read it, Lotus?
Zimone Quandrix Prodigy. for a single green and a single blue for a 1/2 human wizard. 1 and tap. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. 4 and tap. Draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, draw 2 instead. I've won drafts with this. It's amazing.
I think she's sneaky good. I think people are so used to... Hold on a second. Thank you. I think people are so used to Simic just being able to be like, oh, I get instant value right away. And whereas Zimone... Yeah, exactly. And where Zimone feels like a kind of slow burn of a card, just the reliability of the creature just seems phenomenal. And we're playing Sakashima, so there's nothing to be said that we don't make extra copies because we've drawn into, 5 or 6 lands, and suddenly we want to play them all.
Yeah.
Zakashima.
So next I have artifacts, but really it's supposed to be ramp. There's not a whole lot of, I think, crazy things. There's a lot of what I think you would expect. Some notable inclusions: Incubation Druid, which it still blows my mind this came in the commander deck. It's not that it's super expensive, it's just that it's very good. So it just surprised me. Yeah, 1 and a green for a 0/2 Elf Druid. You can tap to add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. If Incubation Druid has a +1/+1 counter on it instead, add 3 mana of that type. Then you can pay 3 green for adapt 3, so you can put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. There are many ways to just put a +1/+1 counter on this creature without having to adapt. But then you have the ability to adapt. So yeah, whatever.
I like the turtle.
Yeah. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, we got Quandrix Cultivator. It is 1, a green, a hybrid green-blue, and a blue. It's a turtle druid. When Quandrix Cultivator enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic forest or island card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So it doesn't enter tapped, which is nice.
And it's
a cool turtle.
Yeah, so you could argue this could be like, Skyshroud Claim or something like that, but we want to copy our creatures. Being able to get the value out of, we've played Quandrix Cultivator last turn, and then suddenly we're going to make a copy of it this turn and get 1 land into play untapped, and it's either a basic forest or island. That is something to like not shrug your shoulders at, because it's very good.
We keep talking about like the Avenger of Zendikar utility, right? Pulling 10 of these out of your deck with 10 more lands is like it's pretty good.
Yeah, it doesn't feel bad, that's for sure.
Yeah, you'd be very far ahead.
So that brings us to lands. There are a couple lands I want to talk about because I love my utility lands. The first one is Littlejohn Mirror Lake. It enters the battlefield tap. You can tap it for a blue, or you can pay 2 green and a blue and tap and sacrifice it. You create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except that ETBs with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And you can only do this at any time you can cast a sorcery. Once again, people will interact with our creatures, but it's less likely people are going to interact with our lands, right? So being able to have a guaranteed copy effect in our lands is great. I was going to put Mirror Pool in here. I just didn't have an extra copy yet, but that's another land that could easily go in here and make copies of our creatures. We have 2 that are going to put tokens on our creature. Forgive me for butchering this, but Novine Heart of Progress? Norvine?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one.
Do you want to read it, Dan?
Yeah, so it taps for a colorless, or you can pay the Simic and tap, put a 1 counter on each creature that enters the battlefield this turn, which in a deck like this is going to really, really have great utility. At its worst, it's just colorless mana. Yeah.
But we're in 2 colors, so I'm not too concerned about that.
Well, and it coming in untapped, I'm not worried about this. It's not like a Temple of the False God where it's conditional, right?
Yeah. Right. This next land enters the battlefield tap, but it's so strong. Orin Reef the Vastwood. I remember when this card was expensive, and I'm so glad to see that it's not. So it enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add a green, or you can tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. It's very strong in this deck. We keep talking about Avengers Zendikar because that's our top end of creatures, right? So being able to play our Avenger, maybe make 6-7 copies, and then have all those plant tokens, and then put counters on them because they entered the battlefield this turn and they're green, very, very strong.
The next one makes me so happy that you're playing it.
Of course.
Spring Jack Pasture. Taps for a colorless. 4 and tap, put a 0/1 white goat into play. Or tap and sacrifice X goats and add X mana of any one color, and you gain X life. I love goats. Anyone that knows me, I love the janky side.
Seems weird that you like a land that makes goats and then sends them to the butcher.
So it's a silly, like, it's another land I feel like people are going to scoff at, but it's so powerful in a deck like this because being able to just have a land that produces tokens means we can pay 4 essentially with Esix out and make a copy of something. In a land that's reusable, it's great, but being able to also just make a ton of goats to once again get out of a sticky situation. We are close to winning, but we have to get around another turn cycle. Being able to make multiple copies of our goats and then sack them to this and gain life and mana. There's just not a downside to this land, and it's sweet. Like Lotus said, like we're making goats. It's great.
That's the secret. It's secret goat travel.
Yes, that's actually what it is. It's secret goat tribal. So that's my take on Esix. We have the deck list in the link tree. You can go through and take a look and tell me what you think. If there are cards that you feel like I'm missing, or things that you would play differently, or just different thought process. Obviously, we all brew differently. This is I would say my 2.0 build, and it's going to continue to obviously change and adapt as more sets come out, or as I get to play it more and kind of get a feel for what I'm wanting to do with the deck. What do you guys think? Is there anything you feel like I'm missing, or you would like to see differently, or have like questions about?
Personally, more squirrels, Polyraptor.
More squirrels and more dinosaurs. Got it. They're basically the same creature.
I'd really like this. I've played the Precon with a few upgrades, but with Nevin Adrix, and I've seen how powerful Esix is, and this terrifies me.
People get mad because I remove Esix anytime they play it, and I was like, no, I have an Esix deck. You do not understand. I do. Brian, Dan, any thoughts on anything?
I think overall you took it a very different direction than I did, and I really want to see how it plays and stuff. Like I said, I didn't really experiment with the Fractal tokens. I think it's a really cool additional way to play the deck. You don't have to just focus on... I went for like basically things that make tokens and things that make... I didn't rely on other people's clones. I have powerful creatures I want to clone. But the Fractals, if there's not something like that, the ability to get these like behemoth, like 100 creatures is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said too, I feel like we typically brew in kind of a different fashion. Like I feel like you're very you're very aggressive, I would feel like is the best way to put it. Whereas like I was saying, I have some silly ways to win the game, but ultimately like I built this deck because I love cloning things, whether it's my stuff or your stuff. So I feel like that's kind of what's interesting about this deck is I can set down and whatever power level we're playing at, I can probably play the same power level because I'm playing a deck that can play whatever you're playing.
Table scaling decks are very fun, and people don't have enough of them. And like I don't have pretty much any table scaling decks, but I do love seeing like just even Sakashima based decks, right? Where the whole point is like a clone tribal. Because like I said earlier, how can you be upset if they're just cloning your things?
Right, and there are some creatures I would absolutely love to play that I don't have access to. This playing it this way allows me to play with a Grave Titan, allows me to make 100 copies of your Inferno Titan, and then subsequently kill you with it.
Yeah, on the enter, and then the attack. A lot of Infernal Titan triggers.
Oh, buddy, I feel like it would just be on the enter a little bit.
To be honest, people don't play Inferno Titan enough. I really like that card.
100% agree. It's a good one. What are your...
If this deck had been Teamer, oh my lord.
Brutaclad, oh man, I would.
If this deck functioned the way I thought it did when I was reading it, also great. I built this deck. I have a put together version of it. I really should take time to read some cards.
Yeah.
Apparently they explain what they do.
Reading is for the casuals. Math is for blockers. Reading is for people who I'm playing the cards against. You can tell me what they do.
like I've said, math is for flanking and banding. That's what math is for, if I've learned anything from Lotus.
That deck's coming soon.
Brian, what are your thoughts?
No, I thought like it looks super interesting. I'm really interested to actually play against it and see how it goes. Because I still have mine. It's just the base precon. So I don't know which way I want to take it in yet. Like I do like the way of the +1/+1 counters if I can try to go that way, but it's more token based. So it's gonna be interesting to see what I want to do with it. But Esix does seem more the route that I might want to go rather than the actual face commander.
All hell the
true
King
commander.
Ditto. Yeah, so like I said, I think I want to get into a little bit of strengths and weaknesses. I feel like a genuine strength is that it scales to the table, like Dan has said, right? There aren't enough people that play scale to the table decks. This is one I feel like I could sit down at a convention whenever those come back around, or an FNM, and we're going to have a good time, right? It's not going to be oppressive. It's just going to play to the table. Some weaknesses, I think it does rely a little bit too heavily on what everyone else is playing at the table, but we can use that to our advantage as well. It might be kind of slow, or depending on the play group, it could be oppressive, like, with the Bio Visionary. That could be a way to win that people might not like. So those are kind of what I think are some strengths and weaknesses. You guys can let me know what you think. And yeah, I think that's all I got for this, guys and gal.
Let us know where they can find our stuff, Brian.
Yeah, so make sure to check us out on IntoThe99.com. It's your one-stop location for all things Into the 99. Some of the things that you can find on there would be our other shows, Parallel Thoughts and Brewing It Live. Parallel Thoughts with our host, Necrozach, and On an Adventure, Benson, where they take two ideas and cram it together into a single build. Then we got Lotus, who has her Brewing It Live, which streams every Sunday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, where she builds decks with Han and the rest of the community in the chat. As well, we do have a new lore show that you can find that premieres every Wednesday, and it's on our podcast where you're listening to us right now. As well, you can find other gameplay videos, podcast episodes, and product opening on our YouTube page. And as well, if you want to support us, you can find our Patreon page that has lots of awesome additions to it, as well as our merch store. Like Benson would say, don't get into the 99, wear it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you later.
Take care. Be safe.
Bye.
Still needs more squirrels.
I can make a lot of squirrels, Lotus.